Hey everybody, this episode of the Dutch Hall is brought to you by myself. I couldn't get anyone else to sponsor the show, so I'm going to do it. I'm Pete Van Dyke, and I tell jokes. If you're looking for entertainment options during these difficult COVID times, contact me at either livefromthedutchhall@gmail.com, or you can contact me at Instagram or Facebook, Twitter, any of those things. I'm Dutch Hall or Live from the Dutch Hall on those platforms. Contact me and ask me what we can do for you. We'll give you a lot of different options. We work with entertainers of all shapes and sizes to fit all sorts of tastes and budgets. Just contact me at livefromthedutchhall@gmail.com, and we will discuss how we can come to your bubble and show you a good time. We adhere to all Ontario health guidelines and COVID-19 protocols, so we should be able to do this thing nice and safely. And on a personal note, if I bring one of these comics to your place after you hired me, and one of these sons of guns decide that they're going to cough in your home or in your yard or on your patio or what have you, I'll tell you, not only will they be asked to leave your premises, but they'll be shamed from their social group. And because I used to be a banker, I will ruin their credit score. But I'll tell you, they are Canadian stand-up comedians, so they probably have already done that to themselves. But, anyways, if you'd like to do that, please give me a dingle. It's nice to be back, everybody. I just wanted to give you a little rundown before we start the show. On this week's show, I went to Hamilton to Jason Allen's house, and we visited with two great stand-up comedians, Jason Allen and AJ Bate. They are the hosts of a podcast called In Search of Zen, and it was a great time. We sat down. It was so nice to sit down with a couple of comics and just shoot the shit. Have people that understand how to have a conversation. It was so easy. It was one of the easiest episodes I've ever recorded. It was a total pleasure to sit down with both of these guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. And personally, I just wanted to say I'm really glad to be back again. I'm glad to be back making these shows. It kind of feels like we're starting right over from scratch, and we really are. So I hope you guys enjoy this ride. I made a lot of big changes in my life. We can talk about that in future Thursdays. But I think these changes are for the better, and hopefully it'll make the show better too. You know how this thing works. If you guys reach out to me, we can adjust the show, do things you like. If you have any ideas on how we can make the show better, you got to give us some feedback. And we'll make that happen for you. So anyways, great to be back. Thank you to everyone who reached out to me during the hiatus. I really, really missed all of you guys. I can't tell you how much I have missed you. So it's great to be back. Looking forward to making a lot more of these shows for you again. And without further ado, enjoy the show, people. Hey, welcome to the Dutch Hall. I'm your host, Pete Van Dyke. We're back on location in the Mobile Dutch Hall studio, this time live in Hamilton, Ontario. We are, as I said, live from the Dutch Hall. We're the greatest podcast ever to get started in a pool shed in Pine Grove, Ontario, end up in a church, and then back into the same stinking pool shed. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been such a long hiatus. We're so happy to be back. Our guest today are two people who have been long-time guests of the show. Both of you have been on the show multiple times. They currently have a podcast called In Search of Zen. It's available on all your podcast providers, and you can have a new episode released every Tuesday. Please welcome everyone. Give a nice Dutch Hall welcome to my guest, AJ Bate and Jason Allen, everyone.
Hey, what's up? Live in the Dutch Hall.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for having me into your home this time.
That's true, I guess.
This guy's home,
I'm
but
it's
kind of like semi my home a little bit.
I feel like,
I spend like 25% of my time here, pretty much.
You didn't put any money into the place,
no,
but you put time in.
I'm reaping the benefits. I'm just reaping the benefits.
Did AJ help you with handy stuff around the house?
Not at all. I think.
No, I think one time.
Oh yeah.
We had to tear up one kind of platform thing in the stairs, and really AJ and I kind of helped. But Doug really got the piece. Lifting. He did most of the hard work to pop out the old shitty piece, and then I laid the new wood in.
Yeah.
So can we say how much of a good friend I am? I forgot I even did such a good deed. Can we just say that?
This is true.
Can I take credit for that?
You almost forgot completely.
Yeah.
Doug lives with me now in the basement. That's the only fucking time he's helped me.
Oh, is that right?
And he lives there, and it's the only time. You brought me wood today so I can patch my shed. You've helped me more
than anybody.
I know.
Friends.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel really good about myself.
Yeah, I know you're a great dude.
The bar is so low.
Thanks a lot, Pete. Appreciate it.
No problem. I love the fact that comedians are such lousy friends that I can do the bare minimum and still be.
They're lousy workers, dude. We don't know real men, Pete. You don't know real men either. You're the manliest guy I know, and then I'll talk to your brothers, and they'll be like, "Yeah, Pete couldn't handle farming. Pete was too soft for that.
Yeah.
He could." And
I'm the woman of
in your group, you're kind of like
the girl.
You're like
the
Ross
sensitive
from
one.
Friends.
You're the sensitive one,
and
right?
Like to us, you're like Burt Reynolds.
The comics, you're a fucking man.
Yeah, like Tom Selleck or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Eh? Like I'm actually like. Well, if we can
the
refer to
artsy
it in slave terms, because I was like a free laborer on a tobacco farm growing up.
Oh yeah.
Is that in slave terms, I was more what they would call a house Negro. You know?
Yeah.
And my brother
That's
was
what I say about you all the time.
My brother was more of a field Negro, you know?
Yeah. He was
I got to stay with the boss.
He's
in the
very
house.
fat though. I've seen your brother. Like, he definitely did not get treated as one.
My brother, well, no, I don't know. I think a guy like that would take whatever he wants.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
you get to eat if you're bigger than the other people at the dinner table.
Pretty much, that's what he does.
That's it. He forces his way to the table.
Gets to fuck other workers' wives and all.
Did you guys have brothers and sisters growing up?
Oh yeah,
I have a younger brother and I got an older sister.
I got two sisters and a brother. I'm the oldest. Yeah.
So you got 4 kids in your family. That's the same as what I had. Did you have to argue or did you have to fight for the dinner around the dinner table?
No, because I was like, because I'm still kind of like the biggest still, right? So I've never really had to.
Oh yeah.
And plus it's 2 sisters that are younger, like they're right after me, and my brother's like the youngest. So the 2 sisters are dainty and like small or whatever. So
they would let you have what you wanted.
Yeah, and they don't eat that much, right? Or at least that's what I like to.
Didn't you kind of have to battle it out with your cousins a little bit
my
more
cousins,
though?
Yes.
Like a bigger family gathering for food.
Yeah, exactly. Because I have 40 cousins on both sides of my family.
Oh yeah.
So whenever
40, eh?
Yeah, well, like whenever like the Muslim Christmas shows up or a wedding,
Muslim Christmas.
Yeah, like whenever because we would have for 3 days we would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, all like the entire family. So every meal was like a fight for survival.
And then would you meet up with them at Ramadan and stuff, where you have to fast all day and then eat in the evening?
Like it was just brutal because the elders of the family, they would eat on their own with dignity, and like everybody. Like,
you're at the kids' table fighting over stuff.
All of us kids, exactly. Yeah, we were just like, here we go, and then just like people would leave their room and it would just be us, and we were just fucking like clawing at the plates and all that stuff, whatever we would have left.
Are you and your cousins close?
Not as much as I would like to now, but when I was living back home in Libya, we were very, very, very close. Yeah.
But you just had a cousin move here.
I just had him. Yeah, I just had a cousin that immigrated. He just got his permanent residency. Him and I are, we still remain close throughout the years, and he lives here now. So
yeah.
He was the right cousin to move here, because the other ones it would have been just like awkward to get back into it with them.
Right.
Nothing really happened. Just how it
you
is
culturally
with distance.
Adjusted, or
I culturally adjusted, and I had like that Western culture, like coldness a little bit. You know what I mean? It wasn't as warm. Because back home it's like even your great uncle, you would call them once in a while to check on them, right?
Right. So like just so people know it, that are listening, you're originally from Libya.
Yes, I am.
In North Africa.
Yes, sir.
And
and so like when you're talking about back at home, you're talking about Libya, and
Yes.
so what were you saying again? So I want
It was just like for us Eastern people,
right.
we have this stereotype about Westerns that they're not very family oriented, and like unless it's like an immediate family member,
Right.
like you wouldn't like call your. And with you, it might be different because
I
like,
have a more of a European background.
yes, yeah, exactly. But for the
Right.
most part, like if it's somebody that's not your sibling or your parent, you don't really keep up with them all the time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's very rare to find that. So, but like for us Eastern people, family's everything, and
Right.
cousins are like brothers, and they're like siblings, right? So
Yeah, that's how it is for me too. I
Yeah.
have 29 cousins, like on my Dutch side,
yeah.
and we're like best friends. Like,
Yeah.
we all of us like are.
And it
are-
was like
like
that.
love hanging out together.
Right.
Yeah, and it was like that for me for a long time, right? With
You
me and
guys
my cousin.
families are putting up high numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do not pull out.
Yeah, no, I'm
No.
low. We're low numbers.
Yeah, dude, no,
especially
there's,
compared
like,
to you
way
guys,
too many.
29 and 40. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
well, I've got like 40 on each side, and they got even more for like the last 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
AJ's got so many cousins. He's got another cousin in his family who's a comic.
Yeah,
He lives in,
yeah.
He lives in L.A.,
He
right?
lives in New York right
New
now.
York,
Yeah,
okay.
he's more of a distant cousin. He's not like an immediate
A first
cousin,
cousin,
but
yeah.
like he is a cousin. Yeah, he lives in New York, and he's actually doing really well. Like he's doing,
AJ hates it.
he's
Because
doing.
his family's like, you do comedy. Yeah, your brother or your
yeah.
cousin just did Fallon. He's like, fuck off.
Yeah, he did.
I
He
don't-
did Conan. He was on Wanda Sykes'
No
special
way.
thing, and I think he's I think he's like a, what is it, like a social media producer or something, like something like that for Samantha Bee's show in New York. And
Oh,
he
yeah.
lives in New
Right,
York,
right.
So.
So when you immigrated to Canada, did you think that you were going to be a comic then?
No.
Otherwise, you would have went to another country, right?
Well, I mean, I would have at least started right away, like for sure.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I would have like,
Sure,
I would have
yeah,
definitely like started.
yeah.
Right. And like comedy was always something in the back of my head, but because like it was so integrated in my mind that it was not something to be pursued.
Right.
So I was like, I'm just gonna be like a lover of the craft or whatever, and just that's all I'm gonna be, right?
Right.
But then I was like, realized that life sucks, and like I have nothing to live for, and
Yeah.
it's just like there's nothing really. I'm not happy. I'm not like I don't feel fulfilled. So I was like, all right, let me figure out what I want to do. And I was like, oh, remember that thing that you always loved? Let's try to do that.
Right.
And
it just
And
took
you
me-
were already a young adult when you moved here with
22.
your family,
Yeah, I was 22.
too.
Yeah,
So,
I was
yeah.
22. Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
I started comedy when I
really,
was
it's
24.
not like
yeah.
it's not like you could have probably pushed them to move to the
No,
States.
God, no,
They just
no.
would have been like, well, if you don't want to live in Canada, you try to get your own citizenship.
Yeah, exactly.
in
You
the
try to
States.
figure out-
yeah.
figure out-
But your parents had come over before you did, though, right?
Yeah, they did. They came over in 2011, and I stayed back home
For the
for the revolution that was happening right at
Yeah.
the time.
no big deal, just a revolution, right?
Started
I always
it.
think
a lot of people don't realize
I
that.
know.
I always try to tell people AJ started it. People don't understand.
Well, the city that I was in was
I
one of
don't,
like the first, if not the first city that did start like go out protests. Benghazi.
Yeah.
That was one of the very first cities that went out to protest.
I was way into that in 2011. Like,
Yeah,
I was
no, I know.
super-
You know a lot about-
You think you were? You should have
Yeah, I
seen
know.
this guy. You
I-
should have seen AJ over there.
He
He
was-
killed Gaddafi. A lot of people don't realize that.
Did you? Were you in the streets when he was dead, or did you watch
I
on a
was
big screen?
no. I was.
You
like,
were in the streets celebrating and
I
drinking
was
his
in
blood and
exact,
stuff, right?
pretty much,
Yeah.
exactly. We were passing around his kidney. Everybody take a
Yeah,
nibble, not
right,
too
yeah,
much.
a little bite
not too
for
much.
everyone.
Everybody gets a piece.
Him
okay.
and your 40 cousins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I was in Benghazi when it happened, and yeah, we all like heard the news, and we all like I think nobody slept that night, and we were just.
It's just like a huge party in the
It was
street,
insane.
essentially.
It was
Yeah.
insanity.
Yeah.
It was insanity. Yeah.
It has to be like something that we couldn't even imagine.
No, for sure.
Well, imagine like
sure.
being oppressed for 42 years, right? And then
Yeah.
all of a
Oh,
sudden
I
that
think
guy
about
died.
that all the time. Never mind. I'm right with you.
You're almost
Okay.
there. I think we all
Ah,
have it in
you're
us
almost
into
there.
to a scale. Like there is something that's been oppressing us
Oh.
for decades.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just on a different scale,
Give
maybe.
me, give me a green light. I'll kill a dictator. Are you kidding me? I'd happily kill a dictator and dance in the streets
You're
with
ready.
my friends.
You're ready.
I'm totally ready. I was born to do it.
If I knew that my misery was caused by a singular person and I could put a face to that person, I would hunt that motherfucker down
100%.
and destroy
Yeah.
them. You know, there'd be no. But mine are more like you said. They're like inside of my brain.
Yeah.
You know? I would
Well,
take
it's so
myself-
funny that like like a lot of like black comics would talk about like how, the reason why Jews were able to kind of like kind of get over Nazis and stuff like that because Hitler was the face of oppression. So once he died, he kind of took that away with him. But with black people, they're like, we don't have a face for slavery.
Yeah.
A lot of white people did it.
A
There's
lot
no,
of- yeah,
there's
a lot
no
of
like
you were in on
white
it.
Hitler who was like was the first slave owner, and like if we got rid of him, it would have been over. It's like just like a more broad thing, right?
Right.
So when you
right.
kind of have a face for your oppression, it's so much easier to deal with than just like evade.
Yeah,
and like
it's very true.
You know, oh shit, man.
I'm
Sorry,
the
that's me.
only I'm the only professional one here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But the thing about oh sorry. Fuck me, man. I lost it. We were talking
About
about
oppression, like a
oppression,
face
yeah.
for your oppression.
Yeah, I was talking about the Bible. During the COVID there, I read the Bible.
Mm.
You want
Yeah, you told me about that. Yeah, you were revisited.
I'm not done the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I've started reading it. Not for kids, not at all.
Oh, it's horrible.
And people owned slaves like right from the beginning. Pretty much everyone was a slave.
Yeah.
too. It's not-
Arabs, a lot. They did their fair share of it. Yeah.
I think everyone took their turn at either having slaves or being a slave. If you look at historically, if you were stronger than somebody else, or if that person was even in a weaker position where like they were undergoing a drought and they needed to like give grass to their sheep or something like that. This is what happened to the Jews, right? They had to like feed their sheep and they didn't have any more grass because of drought, so they went into Egypt. And they made a deal with them, and then they ended up being slaves for them for generations. And
Just from that one deal, yeah.
yeah, at first it was kind of like, yeah, we'll do work for you to make up for the fact you're letting
That's
us
how it
use
starts,
the ground.
though. Yeah.
And then all the people that made the
You
deal.
have to sign a contract.
It's like read the fine writing.
Yeah,
you know
you
what I'm
got
saying? Like
you gotta read the fine print. You can't just go.
This isn't the Apple agreement. You can't just skip through. You can't just hit I agree.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be
You know
good
what
for
I mean?
both of us. No.
yeah,
it's like,
yeah. No,
It's hard to get
trouble.
out of slavery too, right?
Oh, it's not as easy.
I've been told.
Yeah, God had to do like a lot of crazy shit in order to convince him to let those people go.
have to have like a few prophets and all that stuff. It had to be a bit of a cleansing, a bunch of wars, to get over it.
Did you know even like Adam's kids had slaves?
Oh, I didn't know it was that far.
Yeah, which doesn't even make sense because if Adam was the first person,
Yeah.
then his kids would be the second people. Then who the slaves? The slaves would have been.
Well,
related to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that hacky thing of like, which is like kind of true that nobody really wants to talk about. It's like, how did Adam's kids have kids? Like, they were siblings. They probably.
It's very
Probably
incestual.
yeah,
It's very
incestual,
gross.
yeah.
But how about this? They weren't the first people at all. They were just the first chosen people.
Oh, there were human beings before that?
And then they were human beings, but they never considered them human beings because they were the wrong color or the wrong sect or the
So
wrong
even
tribe.
God was like racist from the get-go.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Because
boy.
how else could the kids have slaves unless they were saying they weren't even counting them as people?
P, you're gonna be a target, man.
Is this bad?
You're gonna get assassinated by the end of
By
this episode.
Christians,
Yeah,
but
by
yeah,
Christians.
by
Don't worry about us.
Christians,
We're on
but
your
By my
yeah,
own people.
We're with you.
I just read
Yeah.
the book. That's what it said in the book.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
only using logic.
Oh, this is very interesting.
Yeah,
I've
but
never-
Christians hate logic. Don't.
Oh, religious people in
Be
general.
careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school, right up Catholic high school, everything.
Same here.
I never read I never read the Bible once, and no one even wanted me to.
No, I read the Quran a lot, and it's very.
It's what he used to beat Gaddafi to death.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, with the power
Right,
of
with the
Allah. That's how you know.
Quran,
It's,
yeah.
make sure it's halal,
You just fucking beat him.
Dude, they
His
really.
fucking dumb
You guys
face.
love that video of him being beat to death. I know a lot of Canadians.
Yeah,
like,
well,
dude.
I just love it because you're in it. I don't.
I'm just in
I
the
got a buddy in
I'm
the
background.
so proud of you.
Just in
I
the
try to push this on everybody. I go, no,
Everybody
he
thinks
did
that I
it.
actually
He's the guy.
have blood on my hands.
Yeah.
Like everybody that I meet.
Well, 'cause
Were
he
you in real
was part
danger
of,
though?
For like a few
You were
times.
around it,
A
yeah.
few times, yeah, a few times, but like nothing like really like, all the time. But there have been a few, because I don't know if I've told you this, but I've told him. What? What's wrong?
Here's the thing with this guy. Let me tell you guys this. He'll always act like, oh, I wasn't in it too much, and then you find out more. You're like, oh, I was just an interpreter and stuff like that, and then he's like, well, I saw a lot of bodies, and then a little bit longer will go by, and he's like, well, yeah, I did carry a gun on me the whole time. I'm like, dude, you were in it.
Yeah.
You
Well,
were
but-
in it.
well,
And
I
I
just-
just find out more and more the longer I know you.
I just compare myself to people that were actually in it, and it's like far, like I'm so far like behind, like compared to what they were doing, right?
Right.
But I mean, yeah, obviously, like to that, to people that haven't been to like have been in part of something like that, they would think that I did really a
yeah,
lot.
it seems like a lot to me.
Well, I'm not
for
trying
sure
to like
being involved in
downplay
anything
what I
like
did,
that.
but it was nowhere near as like some people that I know that are actually they sacrificed, like mentally they sacrificed a lot. They never became the same afterwards, right?
Right. It's like
Right.
it's like you guys calling me a man, and then going back home and I see there's real men all around me. I
Yeah.
don't qualify in that category. You'd be the
Right,
same way.
right.
Like there's people giving up their lives for this.
Yeah,
and
man. Like
there's-
I was lucky that I came out of it like unscathed, even mentally. Like I was able to like come out of it intact, right? Like
Yeah.
I wasn't like, because like I said, I have friends that like lost legs. They've even like mentally they were not PTSD, like always having like nightmares and stuff like that, just not really being the same anymore as they were because I knew
Right.
them before, right?
Right.
This is really a bummer. It was supposed
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
funny, but either way, like for me, it was more like because I interpret for a lot of like these European journalists.
Yeah,
They would
yeah.
come over, and I knew how to speak English, so I would like take them to like war zones and stuff like that. But I didn't even know that was like kind of journalism that they did, right? I thought it was just like, oh, they were just gonna be where the protests, the civil, like the peaceful protests are,
Right.
and I'll be out of danger, right? I think it was just gonna be.
but
the
they want to
cool-
go to the line, right?
Oh yeah, that's what happened because
Yeah.
like the first
Yeah,
few.
you went with really ballsy guys. You
Oh,
told me that just
dude.
always wanted to get in the mix.
It was the Italian guy who really wanted that promotion badly. He really wanted.
putting your ass on the
Dude,
line.
because for the first 3 days we were in Benghazi, we were like in the city, right? Because Benghazi is like a big city compared to other cities in Libya. It's kind of a metropolis somewhat. So we were in downtown, just like in the protests and like the peaceful stuff. So I was like, oh, this is more my pace. I can deal with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Meeting with politicians and shit like that, and like translating. I was like, this is more my speed. And after 3 days, he calls me. He was like, hey, well, I want to go meet the general. That's like one of the front lines. I'm like, what? I'm like, well, you're down? Well, leaving tomorrow. I'm like, all right, sure. I mean, I guess you're kind of obligated to like keep an eye on you somehow.
Yeah.
And I did, and I ended up going with him. And yeah, I just my uncles, like I told him, my uncles at some point were helping other cities into the west. They were sending them weapons to aid them, but they were only had to do it through sea, so they would send like ships full of ammo and stuff like that. And so when they knew that I was going to the front line, they were like, all right, like have this AK-47 with you just in case
Oh yeah.
something happens.
Now, can I ask you this? When you would go with a reporter, did you ever, and you're the interpreter, did you ever feel like an obligation to keep him safe, or was there anybody around you that felt an obligation to keep you safe as an interpreter, or was it just you two?
It was just the two
Kinda
of us.
going
It
off.
was just the two of us. It was just the two of us, and I think like.
And you never felt like, oh, I might have a little bit more training than him. I should.
Well, I didn't
watch
even have
him a
any
little
at
bit.
all, right? Like the only thing that like people showed me was just like make sure. Like later on, I learned a bit more, but at the time, all I learned was like, hey, in case it jams, here's what you do.
Basic gun stuff, kind of. Okay.
But no aiming, no how to deal with pressure, or even
Wild.
like, I mean, like, think about it now. If something did happen, which thankfully nothing happened, but if something were to happen, that gun would have been useless because I would probably I would pull the trigger and it would just be going everywhere, and
Right,
like
right.
the guy would just fucking probably shoot me in the head.
Right,
Like,
right.
Just because you have a gun doesn't mean that you're gonna do something with it. You're gonna be able to at least do something with it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Because it's very hard to pull the trigger, even if you're like training.
I've never shot a gun with it where I
Even-
haven't
Yeah,
hurt myself.
yeah.
Dude, even when
I've
you're
hurt myself every single time I shot.
Oh
a gun.
yeah.
dude, even when you're training, it's like I'm about to fire a gun. Like
Yeah.
that's all you can think of. I'm about to fire a bullet.
Right.
That's like that's at least for me. Like some people it was much easier for them, but for me it was like I'm about to fire a deadly thing.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't grow up with that stuff, it's something.
No,
Yeah.
man,
that's gonna
no.
ruin
Which
it.
obviously you did.
Oh God, no,
Yeah.
no. My whole family, my mom and my dad's side, they were
You were. They were all out of that
yeah,
world. and
educated
not wanting
people,
to, yeah, yeah.
businessmen. Like they just, that's and we didn't have like nobody in my family was like a ruffian or like a troublemaker or anything.
Right,
We were just
right.
like regular people. That's it.
So you've been following what's going on there now?
No, man. That's the other thing. Ever since I got here, like my whole life has been shedding away slowly and slowly,
Right.
which is something I kind of like been one of the things that it bothers me about like I wish I could change about my life right now is to be a little bit more connected because I feel like I'm very far away from where I came from.
Yeah.
And it's due to, pursuing things here and being busy. Like, you guys know how it is. Like, life
Yeah.
gets really busy.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
for sure.
so, but I feel like I'm very, I feel every day I feel like I'm a bit more distant from where I came from. And I kind of want to reconnect just at least a little bit because there are a lot of bad things that I was very happy to get rid of. But there are a lot of, like, good things that I wish I could, like, try to implement again in my life because I feel like I miss those,
Right.
because life living here can be, it can be cold sometimes, man.
Yeah.
It can be hard.
Yeah, it's weird that it is that North Americans are like that because even I noticed that they're not as warm, like the family wise and just support wise, it just makes for a real lonely existence, not
It
to
does,
have that
yeah.
support.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was very lucky because like Jay here, and like Joe Patel and Michael Moses, a lot of these guys are some of the best people that I've ever met in my life. So I was very lucky to be in good company.
Right.
But even for somebody like me, it still feels sometimes like that. So imagine somebody that doesn't have that good of friends around them, like how would they be, right?
Right,
So
right.
And
It's hard
it's-
adjustment.
And it's gonna be even harder. Like obviously, like you did the work when you were younger and stuff like that. But like, your English is
Yeah.
You just sound like
Yeah.
been here
you
forever.
grew up here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like for some people coming over and trying to start a new life, and then they have thick or speaking in
Yeah.
broken English, it's got to be even tougher to adjust and make new friends and kind of like
Absolutely, yeah.
and try to enter
Not knowing
a
the
life
culture
here in
and
North
all that
America
stuff.
and not being familiar with the culture, which you already kind of knew about North American
Yes.
culture, and you were kind of Americanized in some ways, you would say.
Yeah, I had
even
a,
before
I had a,
coming
mu-
over.
I've had it much easier than a lot of people that came new to the country for sure.
Do you
I-
take pleasure in seeing what's going on in like the States, for example, knowing that they're like you had all those troubles? You're probably thinking that was more like you have to endure these troubles at home, and then you left for the West thinking it's a better place, right?
Well, here's the thing, man. Like, if I stayed in the Middle East to this day, I would probably say yes. But the fact that I live here now, and I, as comedians, a lot of us want to move to the States eventually.
Yeah.
We don't. And I'm sure like Jason feels
No.
the same way
Yeah,
too. Like I don't want that to happen. I want them to like get it together and be able.
I'm
to.
rooting for America.
I'm
Like,
rooting for America.
I don't love Trump's America by
No,
any
but you
means.
just love
but
America,
I
man.
am
It's a-
rooting for America to deal with this COVID stuff better and get back on their feet and open the borders for my career, if nothing else, in AJ's career and
Yeah.
comics and comedy to like
Yeah. to
start
have
running
options,
again and have options again. I know that you've gone to the States and done some shows too.
Yeah.
So, no, I'd love to see Trump pull his head out of his ass and take COVID more seriously and things kind of like I'd like to see them get back on their feet. As far as like disorder with protests and stuff like that going on, is rough as that is to watch some of that stuff. That's what you get when you just keep excusing
Yeah.
violent behavior, unnecessarily violent behavior from your police force. And
Right.
this is they had this coming to them, and I hope that America again sees positive changes out of these protests. I'd really like that.
Yeah, even Trump aside, like take Trump out of the equation and just go a two-party system with Democrats and Republicans, and then they have it in their mind that if the other side says up, then we have to say down. If they say that this is
Right.
the right answer, we have to disagree with
yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
As long as there's two sides and you have to be on one or the other, they're going to always have these same problems. Like there should be a certain amount of like, you remember 9/11 happened, and then they were able to say
Does he ever?
That's
This year was nice. This year, nobody forgot. Everybody forgot about it.
oh yeah. All of a sudden, if you're a Muslim, you're like, no, the heat's off.
Oh, yeah.
Chinese people
Yeah.
are like,
Oh, I do that. Yeah, it's like keeps like
Oh.
like even on stage. I'm
They're
like,
either because people are either mad at racists are mad at the Chinese and they're mad at Black Lives Matter. So he's completely
mad at that.
You do,
Which,
like, yeah.
why would you
Yeah.
even be mad?
Arabs are off
like,
the hook
I don't
this year.
understand. I can never explain a racist
No,
to
I
you
know.
logically, right?
We're living La Vida
But No, AJ's skating right now.
We're
He's
doing
getting
good.
by.
2020 is a
He's
good year for
great.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're off the hook almost for that. Yeah.
2020 it's a good
He's a
year.
house Negro at this point.
Pretty much. I bet.
Yeah.
He's pretty comfortable.
I'm glad you said it
Nobody's
too.
yelling at me.
Yeah. I'm
Nobody's-
glad you
I
said.
had to take the heat off.
you took the
you,
heat
Mike,
off,
so it's
yeah.
not
more of a
just on
house.
you now.
I'm more of a house sand Negro, really. That's what it is.
Yeah, you are. That's exactly what you are. Definitely a house person because you that's what an interpreter directly.
Oh,
is.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah.
If you were a slave,
I was spoiled.
you'd be living
yeah.
in the house.
No, I
you
was.
know?
I was definitely spoiled, man. Yeah, but the thing with the states, you're right about like just having like two sides and not really. But
If they had three parties, I think half of the problems would go away because there'd have to be some compromise with a third party.
Yeah, there'd be some middle ground.
Yeah.
It's true.
yeah, people like always think like disagreements is a bad thing, but anything in life, disagreeing is good. You need like some. You need some people to disagree with you. You can't just have everybody like either against us or for us. You know, having that like really kind of narrows your way of thinking about a lot of things, and you kind of like don't see a lot of options that were otherwise, a good option to take.
You know what? My youngest daughter, she's like a TikToker, you know?
Okay.
And she's very politically motivated. You know, she's like a social justice kind of warrior, you know,
Okay.
my youngest daughter, which as a comedian, you're kind of a certain bit of us is trained to hate them, you know?
Yeah.
But I can't hate my own daughter, right?
Of course.
No.
So what I want to do is try to like give her like some perspective so she doesn't get too extreme on her side,
Yeah.
you know, that she can see the other side.
Mm.
But then I have to defend terrible positions, you know?
That's
like
true.
that's the part I can't do. Like I always end up saying you're right because she's always saying positions like be nice to people and like don't
How can you disagree with
yeah,
that?
I can't
right?
disagree with any of that. I'm just saying like just understand that just because you know it's right and I know it's right doesn't mean the rest of the world are going to think the same way or bend to our beliefs, you know?
Well, part of the problem is, and she's right. It's like the bottom line, the idea should be to be nice, to be kind to people, to treat people with human decency. The reason why some social justice warriors catch flack is because they've completely given up on context.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is like, again, like when a comic who's a good, well-established comic tells a joke and then they're catching heat for it being a statement and stuff like that. Then I get the bitterness towards social justice warriors because like now you're telling people, oh, you meant it this way.
Yeah,
Right,
you're
right.
kind of
Kinda
like
thing,
policing
right?
people's thoughts, and it's like
Yeah.
And even like, I remember in London, I don't know if you remember this, there used to be this like this girl who would come out to shows pretty tightly wound, but she would always be at these fucking comedy shows. And you know, Peter Reed.
Yes.
Peter Reed's a bit of a darker comic or
Yes.
whatever else. But if you
not in
talk
skin,
to him,
like in
no,
humor.
not in skin and like, yeah.
Material wise, yeah. He goes into places that are pretty
He goes
pretty
into
disturbing, yeah.
to dark places, right?
Yeah.
But if you talk to him
yeah. he's
in
a
everyday
sweetheart.
life, he's one of the nicest people
Yeah.
you'll ever meet. And I remember this girl being like, she's just such an SJW and she just always wants to do the right thing. And her friends who were with her were threatening to like physically like beat him up after Sean. I'm like, well, then how are you? You're the dangerous one
Right,
now.
right.
How
Yeah,
is he? How is he the dangerous
Because as long
one?
as he's using words, he's
'Cause
not
he's-
as much of a threat as
He's
you
using
are.
words over a microphone where he's trying to make you laugh, and maybe he failed tonight, and that's whatever. He'll have to
That's
feel
the
that,
consequence, yeah.
and that's the consequence of those words. But if you guys beat him up, then you're the dangerous
you're no-
ones.
you're
Like
not
you shouldn't
better
be
than that
welcome
person
back, and
anymore.
you're definitely not better than him
No,
to
no.
do something like that,
Menace to
right?
society.
Yeah, and that's the narrative now that everyone's trying to paint with people that have noble intentions. Like even you look at Belarus, there are big protests there. Like pretty much all around the world, there's protests against.
Yeah, it's,
Everyone's fed up,
Pretty much.
and anytime you look at it, it's the people in power that are being protested are saying that the people who are protesting are trying to disrupt the peace that exists in their nation. Right? They're trying to like be disruptive and they're anti-law and order and all the rest of it. Which, if you can look at the faces, like I watch a lot of Al Jazeera, so I see the footage of these women in Belarus or whatever that are protesting and getting thrown into vans and stuff, and they're like these sweet little college kids with like hope in their eyes. They've never
Right,
they don't
right.
understand the darkness that's coming at them, you know. Like it's but the the narrative that's painted to people who aren't near those cities that where the protests are going on, like people in the rural communities and farm towns and stuff like that.
They don't care. Yeah.
They just see that people are
being disruptive.
being disruptive, you know.
Yeah.
And then they just want that to stop because they're scared, you know.
Well, the thing is, man, it's a pattern that happens throughout history. For some reason, as human beings, we tend to like forget very easily. Like we forgot, like, like people here saw how the Arab Spring was, and seeing how, obviously, countries here aren't as bad, obviously, as the Middle East. I'm not saying that, but there are a lot of symptoms that you're like, oh, I've seen that before.
Mm-hmm.
For me, as somebody that lived in another country, I'm like, I've seen that. That looks familiar.
Right.
Especially with like, I mean, I don't know, I might get flack for this, but whatever. But like with Donald Trump, like there's a lot of like Arabic dictatorshipy tendencies in him.
Right.
A lot of like symptoms. I'm like, I have heard that before. Over embellishing, being sarcastic or like just disregarding a lot of important things,
Yeah,
or
shitting on the media.
making up things and stuff like that. There's a lot of things I'm like, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's taking it right out of their playbook.
And he loves him. He's friends with them. Nobody can deny that.
Yeah.
Even his supporters need to admit it, that like he's friends with a lot of dictators around the world, India and a lot of Arab countries, Egypt, stuff like that.
North Korea, and
North
then
Korea,
also
like,
like in Russia right now.
so
It's
like-
no, it's very he's pretty open.
He's very open. So
being
his supporters,
friends
like
with
they shouldn't
dictators.
be upset when somebody points it out, because it's true.
No,
Like,
that's right,
nobody's
yeah.
making that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always look at it as just like, I mean, I feel nothing but sorry for the people that live there, because I think both
Yeah.
our options are pretty piss poor.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely, you're
But
right.
it's not like we up here in Canada have a bunch of great options either.
No, not at all. No.
we have our own boring. At least nothing's happening. That's the only good thing you can say about Canada, is that it's like absolutely boring. You know.
Yeah, but this is sometimes like being very centralist, I guess, is not good too. I feel like I don't like a lot of people that like to take the middle road in a lot of things too.
Right.
It just feels like it's very, yeah, you might not be adding harm, but you're definitely not like solving anything.
Right.
And I just feel like a lot of people, especially people on the left, need to be more aggressive a bit about their stances. Because the right is very stronger when it comes to things like that and being decisive and shit like that. And
Yeah.
I think left-leaning people mostly are very sometimes tend to be very passive, or at
Please
least
everybody.
or at least speak up in a lot of things that like nobody gives a shit about that part. But
Yeah.
the left needs to be slightly more aggressive, especially when it comes to legislation and shit like that.
If I could this is what I look about politics, especially in Canada. I would say like they all kind of want to do the same thing, but they all have different ways of doing it. Like if you see like a hungry person on the street, right? The conservative, or let's start with the conservative will be like, get that person a job, so they can get off the street. The liberal will be like, give that person like a meal, because they're hungry. And then the NDP would be like, give that person a check, They all want to make sure that person's not homeless and hungry,
Right.
but they all have different ways of going about doing it,
Of course, yeah.
But they're all kind of have the best intentions at heart, but they
I mean, you would assume so, right?
And really, that's another problem with the division, right? Because the thing with, like, especially in a situation with, like, homelessness, you kind of have to tackle all three of those issues around the same time.
Yeah.
yeah.
You can't just go housing first with no other plan. So
No.
the check doesn't work on its own,
Yeah.
because that's housing, right? You
Right.
you get them on assistance so they have housing, but that won't work on its own. It's got to be like housing, job search,
Mental health,
meals, and mental health.
drug addiction, like it's like
Addiction. It's got to be a bunch of stuff all
other
at once,
stuff.
because otherwise you're setting them up for failure. Because I used to be in social work, and there was a program called London Cares, and it might still be around. And I'm not a big fan of this program, although they'd fall under the guise of helping. What they pretty much do is they're getting these addicts and alcoholics who may even been intoxicated at the time, signing these leases, putting them into housing, but now cutting them off of services because they were costing the government too much money using services all the time,
Right.
going into detox all the time, using the ambulance all the time. this and that, right? So now these old school alcoholics, they're all housed and they're dying within 4 to 6 months.
Because they're not getting the right
And because they're not
solution,
really
man.
getting the right help anymore.
No.
You're just putting them out of the public's eye. And then you're like, there, we helped homelessness. And it's like, no.
Well, I
yeah,
mean,
not
and
really.
that's and like even if you go on a maybe like a slightly bigger scale, and there's something that might something related to me, like 9/11, especially if you look at it when 9/11 happened, and then the war on Iraq. Like, that didn't solve anything at all.
No.
But it was just more like, we're fighting terrorism. Like, oh, you mean in Iran? No, we're going to Iraq.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's nothing there, though. It had nothing, like,
That had
nobody.
nothing to do with it.
There's
Yeah.
oil there.
There was
That's
oil
what
there.
That was the truth that people didn't want to look at.
But like what it was under the guise of, we're gonna fight terrorism to make sure that not another 9/11 happens. But all that ended up doing was lead to more extremism over there in that part of the world, right? So it's kind of like the same thing but on a different scale with homelessness. Like you sheltered people. You just went right to that that visible or obvious solution. And you're like, all right, if we take care of this.
Yeah.
But no, there's like root
There's
causes that
root
you have to
causes
get
that you have to get to.
You have
right?
to get to, right? And
Just like with pulling something out, if you don't pull it out at the root, it's gonna come
just
back,
keep growing a lot more and more, right?
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it all comes down to like any one of these philosophies or right ideas that any of these anybody has. It's only part of the way of thinking about things.
Exactly,
you need to have an exchange of ideas and have people disagree with one another in order to get the most balanced solution to help somebody out. Like any one way is not gonna fix
well, I mean,
anything.
the best way to fix any problem in life, on whatever how regardless of how severe it is, you don't go to the end result and tackle that. What you do is like, okay, what caused it to get to this point?
Right.
Like, what caused us to get here?
Right.
And then you look at that, and then you fix those, and then that way you make sure you don't get to the same place again.
Right.
But if you just tackle the end result, then you're not really solving what caused it.
Yeah,
That's the harder part to do, the
Yeah,
more expensive one, but it's the more effective one. But we don't want to do that, obviously, right? Because it's easier.
You know what pisses me off is that like
Tell
I
us.
hear a lot of things. Like I'm from a small town, right? So I hear cities talk about gentrification all the time. Gentrification, how great it is, where they take bad neighborhoods, like where there's drug addicts and stuff like
just
that.
make
and
it
they,
like hippie and like
they make them into like coffee shops and hot yogas and shit
Yeah.
like that, and they say how great they did as a city. But what they don't tell you is that they've moved all the drug addicts to methadone clinics down in small towns, put them in halfway houses, introduce them to their friends who are all down there too, and who are showing them easier and cheaper ways to get drugs down in the small town. They never move back to the
under
city.
the radar. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And it either moves to small towns or it moves to just another place
in the city.
in the city where if you look at East Hamilton is very rough, but East Hamilton used to be the mecca of downtown Hamilton and big shopping centers and stuff like that. And it was up and it was running and stuff like that, but then they wanted to revive further downtown, so they made that nice. And what did they do? They moved into so the hipsters took over James. The homeless moved to the East End. The East End,
and now
is,
they're
is
getting
rough
pushed
now.
out of that.
And now they're getting pushed out of the East End. It's like, where are they gonna go?
Yeah.
Are they gonna? The only time it's gonna get stopped is if they get moved somewhere if they ended up merging somewhere really nice, like Ancaster or Stony Creek.
I would
where
love to see homeless people in Ancaster.
I'd love to see it too, because what would happen is they'd go, okay, we actually need to put programs in place to help these
because that's
people
where
now.
all the doctors
Because
and
we
lawyers
can't
are.
affect the rich.
No, I mean, like, have you ever driven to that part of town? Like,
Dude, I did a birthday party in Ancaster, private show.
Yeah.
A surprise birthday party. Mike Mitchell set up the gig. Goodfellas themed birthday party. This Italian guy. His place was fucking
Marble?
massive. Just everything's marble. He's got a TV, flat screen TV out on his back deck. His place is huge. In-ground saltwater pool. Like, just the biggest assholes you've
Yeah.
ever met. No.
Yeah.
Very nice people too.
Very
Like the
nice
show
people,
went
but
really
too
good.
rich.
But like too rich.
Hey, look, my he has a lot of friends who've been living in Canada for years and years, and like doctors and whatever, and they live in Ancaster. If you go to their places, it's like just as soon as you get into Ancaster, it's just a
Ancaster
completely
is
different
like,
ball
they're
game.
not fucking
Different
around.
ball game, man.
What's like the rich town near you where you're like, oh, that's where the money is?
Well, Port Dover would be the short
Dover
answer.
is like, yeah.
Port Dover, when I was a kid, was awesome. It was by the lake. It was a bunch of hippies and fishermen. You go down there to party. It would be so much fun because you'd have real people, like farmers, or like hippies and fishermen are like fun people to drink with.
Yeah,
Sure.
Like they're the
yeah.
most fun people.
smoke weed and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like that was old Dover, you know. And now it's all Toronto retirees, displaced, suburbanites that are
Okay.
selling their places for $1 million and buying a $500,000 house that's
Oh my
twice the
God.
size down.
And we're feeling that in Hamilton now too, more and
Prices
more.
are going up, right?
These prices are going up.
Look at us, a
and
bunch of old
from
people,
Toronto are coming in
talking
here.
about real estate.
But if you're rich and
Yeah.
from our area, if you're actually rich and from our area, there's not so much there's like a couple rich neighborhoods in the different towns, where
Right.
there you have bigger houses in those neighborhoods. But a lot of the big money would be like just out in the country, like just out on a piece of land. Out in
Just
the
somebody who owns like a lot of farm or is just doing well with it. You mean kind of?
Yeah, like
just a
they're-
lot of property.
They would just like put a big mansion on a big property somewhere.
Right, right.
Yeah, and then because they
boy.
wouldn't because I think we still from agriculture for the most part. You're still rooted in agriculture, so most people are probably happier to. Maybe I'm just thinking of the rich people I know.
They're
all
working
farmers,
rich.
you know.
Yeah,
because,
they're rich, but they still go and work every day.
Yeah, and they're self-made rich too, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
I guess a different.
Yeah.
No, it's a
thing.
whole other thing for
Yeah.
sure.
Self-made. You can really tell a difference between a person that made his own money and a person that got it handed to him.
Yeah,
You know, like if you're like a second generation rich, like where your dad made the money and then you kind of are just taking over the business or whatever.
Yeah.
We used to have a saying when I was lending money where it would be like first generation starts it, second generation perfects it, and third generation bankrupts it. And it would be pretty much
right.
almost like you could set your clock to it. You know?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
God.
but no, that's obviously not true. There's people out there, third generation, are doing good, but that usually was the case because by the time the third generation rolled around, they weren't hungry enough. They kind of had this expectation that
Yeah.
It
things
will
were gonna.
always be here. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because like with the I mean, again, I hate to bring it back, but like even with dictators, right? When they become like the rulers, they've earned it. They like did a
And they wanted
they
it.
did a
They
coup.
wanted it.
Yeah.
they took over, they killed the king or whatever at that time, and then but then they handed over to their kids
Oh,
who
yeah.
were born,
Yeah.
like, sucking on like 10 different tits
Right.
from like models from Russia or whatever, and
Yeah.
you know,
It's assholes.
eating tiger meat,
Is that what you think's gonna happen to this Kim Jong Un
Oh,
fella?
oh,
Like he's
100
kind of because he's kind of spoiled, right?
Oh,
It kinda-
100%.
It got handed down to him
100%, man, yeah.
through family. So.
Yeah, he like that haircut probably costs like it looks shitty, but he pays a lot of money for it. Probably.
Yeah.
He's that
a
kind of
spoiled
rich.
kid. He's
Oh,
a
yeah.
rich kid. Yeah.
So it's the same where it's like and those kids will be even way worse
His
Yeah.
kids will be
because they have no morals. First of all, they can do whatever they want, and
Right.
it was handed to them. It's like King Joffrey in like Game of Thrones.
Right.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly how they would be like.
That'd be like Baron Trump.
Yeah.
That
was.
he's like a giant too. That kid.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
That some evil's gonna come from that.
He-
Little fucker,
well, Trump himself is not a small
He's
guy.
not. Yeah, he's
No,
not a
he's
short
he's
man.
like 6'2"
He's
or something like that. He's a big guy.
He's a tall
Yeah.
guy. So
He's a tall dude.
and he's gross, kind of fat now too, right? Like, that's why I think that most presidents age, but he kind of just seemed to get grosser. You know, like more gelatinous or something. You know, he's got that fupa.
I feel like he's definitely made money in office, which is its whole other illegal issue.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's getting richer and probably getting fatter because of that. I don't think he was that rich when he ran, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think he was. I think that's why he didn't. That was a big part, anyways, of why he did not release his taxes is he's not as rich as he wants people to think he is.
Yeah, like he's
A
got
lot of his
money,
net
but
worth
and
he's
he's
not-
probably improved his businesses because he did still have his children managing his businesses.
And I'm sure they're probably doing fine because
And they're probably
he became
doing very
president,
well
right?
because of his supporters and being
Yeah.
president and giving himself any kind of break that he could kind of use.
But it
to
is
his
very true.
advantage.
Like even like with people like George Bush or all those presidents, they kind of try to make sure that they stayed in somewhat good shape at least.
Yes.
Like to fit in a suit, look decent in a
Yeah,
suit. You know what I mean?
right.
Because as a president, it's not just being able to talk and pass legislation, but it's also there's a power in appearing decent to the public.
Yes,
Right?
yes. Creating some kind of image.
Yeah, right. That's like with like George Bush, whatever you want to say about him, but like he stayed somewhat in good shape at least.
Yeah, I think Trump's the fattest president since Taft. And that's a long time. Taft.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a fat fuck. Taft.
Well, sure, Winston Churchill and all those guys, right?
He wasn't a president, though.
Yeah, I know,
Winston
but, like,
Churchill was
but I'm
just-
talking
he
about,
was
like-
a fat leader.
like nation leaders who are like obese.
Yeah.
So it's like
We had Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper looked like the penguin.
He was a weird kind of fat.
Was he fat?
Yeah, he was just had a weird
Well,
body.
he just had a weird body. He was fat in areas where you're like, you shouldn't be fat there.
Yeah.
I saw that he played the drums in something. I saw a video of that.
He
was
played
in a- He
piano. I know.
was in a band. What was
Yeah.
this band called?
Oh.
It was something. It was terrible.
The conservatives or something.
It was like the address of the prime minister's residence or something, and it was made into. He made that into. It had something to do with the.
It was something super
Prime Minister,
cheesy
yeah.
like
Okay.
that. Anyways,
Yeah, 'cause that was the time because like we're always one behind the U.S. Like our Trudeau's kind of like our Obama, like Harper was kind of like our Bush.
right.
You know, like we're always kind of like lagging one guy behind. And I think.
Do you think we'll get a Trump type?
Well, I'm looking at. We don't really have anybody that looks like he's in the mix.
Kevin
now.
O'Leary,
That's who I thought it was going to be.
and then he
Wasn't
backed
O'Toole?
out.
Yeah, he was our
He
Trump.
was, he's one of those guys from Shark
Oh yeah,
Tank.
no,
or
I
whatever,
know
the
that guy
greasy ball
from
guy.
Dragon's Den, whatever.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dude,
Ball
right?
guy,
yeah.
Dragon's Den,
His
yeah.
wife killed somebody or something like that. There was like a rumor that came out.
Oh, I don't know. I
His
just
wife's a murderer?
No. Like
Let's look
she
into
ran
this.
over somebody with a yacht. It was an accident or something like that.
Oh,
that's
we've-
how rich people kill, though. That's
We've
like-
all hit people with our
I mean,
yachts.
hey man,
Let's
like
not,
I keep telling you guys,
Come
you
on.
should try it sometimes.
yeah,
it
murdering.
happens.
Just in general, yeah, but
Yeah,
preferably
well.
a yacht, just to make it seem more.
We
innocent.
already talked about how much you've murdered in your life
I
there.
like to,
Fucking
they
the
haunt me
revolution.
every
That's
night,
that's what he calls it when he kills prostitutes. The revolution. He's a piece of shit. This
Oh
guy.
man, I had no idea.
Hey man, it's you get off how you get off. No judgment.
Fair enough.
You can't kink shame a guy.
We're really flying along on time here. It's been a great conversation. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, dude.
Just before we go, I wanted to I got to tell the people listening at home, if you got to this point in the podcast, you're one of the good ones, right? you really are one of the good ones. So if you are here and you want to let me know that you exist, please give us feedback
Feedback.
at livefromthedutchhall@gmail.com or thedutchhall@gmail.com. Either way, you can get me. Send a message. We've gotten a bunch of people who have reached out to me over the hiatus, and thank you to everyone who's done that. But reach out, and we will promise that these shows will be coming out every Thursday for a while. So we'll get you on the air. It's livefromthedutchhall@gmail.com. And as always, feedback. We got feedback. Is brought to you by our friends at Amazon. If you'd like to go to Live from the Dutch Hall's website, livefromthedutchhall.com, you can click on our Amazon banners. If you don't see them, that is because your ad blockers are on. Please shut them off and then click on that. You will then be able to do all your Amazon shopping, and some of the money's going to come back and help me to pay for all the terrible mistakes I've made over the last couple of years. So
You're
please,
doing fine.
so please do that, everyone, and we will get back to you. We'll see you next week. One thing I want to say, In Search of Zen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In Search of Zen is your podcast.
Yes, sir.
And you guys, what made you two decide to come together? Like, you're very distinct personalities. You wouldn't think of initially as you guys as being like the dynamic duo starting a podcast together. What made you see the chemistry between the
Wanna
two?
take it off?
I guess. We were already like hanging out for a bit anyways, and definitely doing a lot of shows together and stuff. So I guess we're different in some ways. We're like, you know, AJ's handsome and I'm a troll, and like, you know, there's certain things I guess that separate us a little bit. Like I'm a perfect white guy and he's a terrorist.
Imperfect Mexican.
No, he's like, I did. I thought he was Mexican the first time I met him too. I go, you don't do any Latino jokes. He goes, I'm Middle Eastern.
So many people thought I was
I'm
Latino.
Like,
It's
okay.
fine.
We did. We were at. I'm getting off topic here, but. We were at a Mexican restaurant in Sudbury one time.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
the lady that worked there
She
was
started
like,
talking
she started talking
Spanish to
him
me.
in Spanish, and
And
he goes, no,
No,
I'm
no
from the
habla
Middle
español.
East, and she kind of like was like annoyed
I think she thought it was like some spoiled Mexican that his parents immigrated here
and
like,
didn't know how to
forgot-
talk,
yeah.
and you're like, no, I'm just from the Middle East. I'm not
You're a
actually
gringo now.
Latino, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And she was kind of annoyed, and then I ordered the mild tacos, and she laughed at me.
Yeah,
She
she
like laughed like right in front of me. I was
Yeah.
like, you could have done that back in the kitchen, but that's
But the
fine.
food was great. At least that we got that. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, we'd already been traveling together
Yeah.
a ton, and have been friends and stuff. And I think we both always wanted to do a podcast, but it would have been a little easier to do one together. And we do share this, where we both definitely have some rage issues.
Oh yeah.
So we thought like In Search of Zen would be a good
Calming.
like title for it, because we're going to talk about what's bothered us through the week, but we're also going to try to share how we got through that somewhat responsibly, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't pick
So-
up any anger on your show when I listen to it.
It's just because like with the COVID and stuff like that, so we don't get to really interact with people as much as
Yeah,
we used
we've
to.
had less angry stories lately because
Yeah.
we're not dealing with people's shit.
Oh,
You know
right,
what I
right.
mean?
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's in some way it's kind of helped us really, but hopefully once the world is not over and we get back to things, we'll get angry again.
We'll be mad
We'll be
once
mad.
again, and we'll be
We'll be
back.
mad.
We'll be
I
back.
have faith in both of you. That
Oh,
you got it in you.
yeah.
Well, we got it in us to be
But
mad.
we have heard that a lot. People are like, you guys don't sound angry as much anymore. I'm like, yeah, it's
Yeah, because we don't
I
have
guess
to.
it's- I guess
I
it's
just
bad.
want to be like, yeah, because we don't have to see you.
yeah,
you
you
fucking
piece of
idiot.
shit. Yeah.
Get away from me.
That is funny because do you find that COVID's been kind of like good for comics in a lot of ways? Like I just mean like for me, I'll just start with me. I'm like a antisocial dude, not antisocial, but like
You're a bit of
I
an
have
introvert.
social anxiety. You know, I
Oh,
have
okay, you're a bit of an introvert.
I think the definition of introvert versus extrovert, the way it's explained to me, is that if you're an introvert, you're energized by being alone, and if you're an extrovert, you're energized by being with people.
Right.
And I am,
okay.
by that definition, energized by being with people.
So you're an extrovert, but you have social anxiety.
But I have social
Okay.
anxiety. Yeah, I think that's more accurate because like I'm supposed to be
Oh,
in a
you
healthy.
learn something
If
every
I was
day.
healthy, I would be an extrovert.
Yeah.
Because of my own problems, I'm more of an introvert because I get too nervous. That's what it is. But I've been getting better. Because like
Been
I've
getting
been,
better, yeah?
yeah.
That's good though.
Yeah, I see a therapist now in Hamilton here.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
good,
it's
man.
been helpful.
How's that helping? Do you recommend it?
I'm really, really new into this.
Yeah,
like,
because I've been like toying with the idea of like maybe I should bounce on that.
But I've been through a bunch of like quacks, man. Like,
Oh, yeah?
people that just don't help at all.
Oh, yeah.
And no offense, they're trying hard to help, but
Just
they
not
just
right
aren't
for
that
you.
smart. You know, like like they're
They're
like
just like not good at their job.
yeah. Like
So
one
be-
time I had this lady, right? She's teaching me cognitive behavioral therapy. So it's like how to like work through your problems with your brain or whatever. And like it's that shit I've been doing since I started having problems. I have always had a brain. I used it, you know? So innately I was doing all this shit. So she's teaching me stuff that I did since I was a kid already just by being a person.
Right.
And then so then I started challenging the stuff, and then you realize, well, when you challenge it, she has nothing. She just took a weekend course or whatever she took, you know.
Yeah.
She can't like think outside of what
Well,
she was
sometimes you
taught.
just need to give something a shot too, right? You just gotta
Right.
try it a little bit. You have to be like a bit open-minded about it. I mean, I don't know, but
Right. Well, so she was nice and everything, but then I went to see her one time, and then she started off by saying, I was doing a lot of thinking about what you told me last time, and I do have to put myself out there more. that's because I gave her the advice that she needs to put herself out there more.
That's not good.
And she's saying, I was thinking about what you said. I go, where's my $75?
No, that's
you know,
not
like
good.
Yeah.
if I gave you,
That's not good.
Yeah.
right?
When your
That's
therapist
a
is like, I
bad-
took your advice about something, like, no.
Yeah, I didn't take any of your advice, and I
that's
paid
not
you
good.
$75.
That's
You took
like-
mine and got paid.
Yeah.
So like that's the sort of stuff I was getting because I live in a small town and stuff, you know.
Well, I
Right.
guess it's not a prevalent over there, you know.
You should have just opened up a competitive office.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like
You-
apparently she loved your advice so
Oh,
much.
yeah.
You just go.
Just buy a couch
You
and
just
start.
set that up in the church and be like, "Come see me."
Yeah, I can
Have,
motivate
one of
strangers.
those,
Undercut her too.
I have one of
you know
those,
what I mean?
Newton,
I'll do
$50 bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What
I
a
have one
good,
of those
that's a good deal.
Newton things, whatever.
I'll come see Agent. I will be your first patient.
I would love to,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you everything that I get in therapy that I'm going to end up paying for. I will give you guys for free.
Yeah,
Like,
I would love
but-
to hear it, man.
I'll
But it
take that
comes
on.
out of me, so it's third hand. But like,
It's watered down.
It's a little watered down.
Yeah.
but I've always picked the brains of a person like you know Sobel. He's had lots.
Oh
of,
God.
He's had lots of
his is all
therapy.
over
So as soon as I met him and I knew he had therapy, I was like, I asked him questions all the time to see what his therapist
but
said.
you should probably have found somebody it worked
Yeah,
for.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Probably.
I think you should
I don't know
gone
if he's
with a
doing
different
the. I just want to know what the advice was. I
No,
didn't-
it's
Yeah, yeah.
better to like just
Yeah.
never ask someone for really any of that stuff. But
That's not nice. It has helped though, even if it hasn't helped him. But like,
no,
I mean,
well, I'm
free because it's expensive, and then a lot of times
It
you
is.
can't get it, and then or it doesn't work for you. Like this one came. My buddy used this dude, so he came high recommended, and so I'm giving him a chance. But he
Right.
seems pretty good.
how many
it's been
sessions
good.
in are you?
2.
All right.
Okay.
Husband so far.
Good, really
Good.
good. No, like I find that they're, you know, with this is interesting to some people, I'm sure, but they tell you that you ever have shame. Do you ever?
A lot,
Are you ever
yeah.
ashamed of yourself?
A lot, yeah.
Well, apparently, this is what the guy told me last time.
It's your family's fault,
No, yes, kind
It
of.
always kind of comes back
dude.
to your
That's like
family,
you know
though,
that's
right?
it's that Joe
That's
it's
the
that Joe
classic.
List joke where he goes I've been going this comic that we love in New York. He goes
I know it, yeah.
I've been going to therapy a lot and I'll save you guys the $75. It's not your fault. It's your family's
your
fault.
family.
Yeah.
And it's like
It's always your
it
family.
seems like it's
Yeah.
it's the case.
The way he
Look,
said
it's-
it is that you don't have shame on your own. You're not born with shame.
Of course not.
So
no.
at some point,
Imagine an ashamed baby. That'd be hilarious.
shit in his
a
pants
baby's
is
just like it covering up
Covering
right
its
away
yeah,
as
it's
soon
covering
as
its
it leaves
ass.
the
Yeah,
womb.
exactly.
yeah,
So
imagine if-
ashamed of its naked baby body.
Yeah, it's shit all over it.
yeah, he shits his pants and just like cries and like hides.
And not
with
because
it.
of discomfort, because
No.
of the shame,
Shame
the
is-
emotional trauma.
Yeah. So he was like, "You're not born with it."
You're not born with it. Somebody must have given it to you somewhere. So,
It's like AIDS. Somebody gave it to you.
so like tomorrow I have another meeting with
You're
them,
sharing a shame needle.
and then I must have like I may have,
Shame needle.
and then so like
It's the worst thing ever.
tomorrow we're gonna figure out why my shame.
That's
Who in your family?
We
You're gonna
should have
pin
done
it
this
on
podcast tomorrow, dude.
One
I
for,
wanna know.
yeah.
Yeah, this is leaving the show with a bit of a cliffhanger.
cliffhanger, there you go.
Because next week's
Damn.
show, I'll tell you whose fault it is.
I know.
It's like a soap opera
I
now.
gotta tune in. I gotta tune
My
in just to
God.
hear if
Yeah,
it's
to
mom
see,
or
'cause
dad.
I'm really
you know?
curious
I'm
too.
curious too. I
Yeah.
want to know.
It could be my wife though,
I mean, let's go beat her up.
because I've been with my wife long enough.
You've been
now.
with your wife long, but usually I feel like shame is even ingrained in
Early
those
on.
Formative years.
You know those formative
Yeah,
years
early
between
on.
0 and 5?
Yeah.
Which means it would not be your wife. It
No.
would be...
Unless you knew your wife for that long.
No, I met her when we met each other when we were babies.
You guys are connected from birth.
Yeah,
Like, this is
yeah.
very wholesome.
I like to believe because
It's a very wholesome
when a
union.
newborn baby boy is born, or when a newborn baby is born, their genitals are engorged with fluid, because they've been in amniotic fluid for the whole time.
That's where I think you gave yourself shame. That's what it was, really.
Yeah, maybe. But I would be proud, I think, of having a big red sack, eh? 'Cause,
Oh.
like, that is what happens when you have a
Nothing
boy.
cuter, too.
Yeah, big red, huge
Oh, it's so
sack. yeah.
adorable.
My friends will take pictures of their kids' big, huge red
Sacks.
nut sacks when their baby boys are born.
Because to guys, it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had 2 girls, and you don't take a picture of
no,
your daughter's
no,
swollen
do not.
genitals.
No,
you
that's
know?
not. That's something that they want to find out that you have.
No, you're asking the doctor, when will this condition clear
It's
up?
gonna be a lot of
you know?
therapy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
You're not
It's
happy
gonna be a
about
lot
it.
of therapy then.
So I like to believe my wife actually caught a glimpse of my giant swollen nutsack on the way out of the hospital.
Baby.
As a
Well,
baby.
it's a bummer because I met your wife. She's a lovely lady, and now I have a reason to, to hate her a little bit. So.
Why you don't like girls that like beautiful?
No,
red
because she
nutsacks?
gave you shame.
Oh, you think that was maybe it was her?
Oh yeah, I'm
We'll find out next week.
my loyalty lies with you, Pete. Come on, man.
Well, I appreciate that, AJ. I really do.
Of course.
Yeah,
really
because
do.
she saw your penis at its biggest in baby form.
Yeah.
Right?
She's probably been
It's
impressed.
actually as big as it's ever been.
Yeah, exactly.
And all of a sudden,
Maybe you've caused some disappointment because you're like, oh, this is how big
Yeah,
it is.
it's-
It can only go up from there.
I
Maybe
like
that's
that,
where shame
yeah.
came from. Was the first that it didn't it never measured up.
that's right.
So that
No, she got spoiled by that red baby dick.
yeah,
And they get this beige man dick. It's brutal.
yeah, it is not nice.
Good times.
Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening to Live from the Dutch Hall. Thank you to AJ Bate and Jason Allen.
Thanks for having us, buddy.
Please check out their podcast, In Search of Zen. It's available every Tuesday. There's a new one out right now as we speak. You can listen
Yes,
right
sir.
to it. And also, any dates coming up, check both of their socials. Go see It's Gary Busey.
It's AJ Bate.
He
Oh, it's
changed
AJ
I've
Bate.
grown
Yeah,
up.
he
I'm a grown
changed
man
it.
now.
Yeah.
I'm a grown man.
It's AJ Bate
Is there an underscore? Or is it just like
No,
that?
it's all one word. It's AJ Bate. That's it.
That's right.
and Jason Comedy.
At Jason A Comedy.
Jason
A Comedy.
Jason
yeah.
A Comedy. On the socials, you'll find all their dates. They are
Yes,
playing
sir.
at comedy clubs across the
Yeah, come
country.
see us.
And support live comedy and give us some feedback at livefromthedutchhall@gmail.com. And until next week, we will see you, NT. See you next Thursday.
Shalom.